All right, Wayne Bettis here, the founder of the Off the Tools podcast. I just want to introduce you to our brand new sponsor, directplumbing.supplies.com. It is founded by a former tradesman who has set up his own plumbing and heating merchants. He has an online shop, which is obviously at directplumbing.supplies.com, and he delivers across the UK. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the show.
You are now listening to Off the Tools with the one and only Wayne Bettis.
If you're passionate and driven and focused in what you do, people will take notice. You can achieve anything you want to achieve in life.
The excuses are not valid.
Hello, welcome to this episode of Off the Tools. Today we have a fantastic lady on the show. You're the second lady we've had. Let me introduce you to Bex Inglis. No, I've done it wrong. Sod it. We're going to carry on. It's Bex Inglis. I'm so sorry. We just had the conversation on how to pronounce her name. So my apologies, Bex. Welcome to the show. Can you just introduce yourself? I know a few of the people in the group will know you, but for those that don't, just give us a little hello, who you are, what's your name and where you're from.
It's a bit like blind date, really, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So I'm Bex Inglis. I run Princess PA, which is a virtual assistant company that helps small businesses and with their administration, from everything from email management all the way up to credit control and chasing people's money when they don't pay. And I've been running it for about 4 years, and I do more of like the niche within the plumbing and heating industry. So yeah, that's what I do.
So what led you down this path? What was your working life like before Princess PA?
So I've had various different office jobs from companies like Ofsted. I've done car auctioneering, which was fun, and which I did from university. I just fell into sort of various different administrative roles. And the reason why I jacked all of that in was literally because my mother had a change in circumstances, and my mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer.
Oh, no.
And I didn't get the support from my previous company to have enough time off just to become, mother extraordinaire, school runs and everything, but also to look after my mum. So quit that job. Spent 2 amazing last months with my mother, and didn't have any idea of what it was that I wanted to do apart from crochet blankets, which I since discovered is A, boring, and B, nobody wants to buy a blanket for £100. So I started offering like CV health checks, looking at people's CVs and tweaking them to be a bit more professional for a £5, and started doing freelance administrative assistance for everybody, and got my first client on the day of my mum's funeral in August 2016. So, and I'm still with him now. So it's a good partnership.
Well, thank you for giving us that bit of a history. So to a lot of people, a VA, what is a VA? What is it that they do?
So a virtual assistant, the industry has obviously grown a lot in the last few years, particularly over the last 6 months because of Rona. Virtual assistants do all of the administration, so anything that you would have from an office manager, such as I said, diary management, email management, credit control, payroll, HR, all of that can now be done in a virtual setting. So we can take that and do those tasks, which gives business owners their time back to focus on what makes them great, such as, say, within the plumbing and heating industry, going out doing the work or going out and making the big decisions to grow their own business. A lot of the tasks that we do can be seen as mundane. So, and realistically, if you're like a big business owner, do you have the time to update a spreadsheet or to tweak it or to make it look pretty? Obviously, big companies have that in-house. The problem with that is it comes with the cost of you have to then find somewhere for them to sit. You have to pay for the computer, the insurance, the payroll, the national insurance contributions. Virtual assistants cover such a broad range. You've got people like me that do admin. You've got people that do social media, digital innovation. We can take that burden on ourselves and basically free up your time and money to focus on what it is that you guys do great.
So in essence, then you can basically, for us tradesmen, mainly tradesmen that are listening, obviously there are a few women, but mainly it's that side of the business that people just either don't know how to do it, and you basically alleviate that stress.
Yes, so we can help put in processes to streamline certain events. We can phone those annoying people that sometimes you just don't have the spoons to deal with, to say, right, this needs to be done, this needs to get sorted, let's get on and do it. So it can save not just the time and the money, but the stress as well.
Yeah. Well, I've used a few VAs. I've used you personally. And what the biggest takeaway I got from it was that it gave me the confidence to give more away, if that makes sense, because when you're running your own business, it's quite easy to get so attached to the responsibility that it's you that have to look after everything. And it's a bit of a mindset shift for people to take that leap. Can you explain how do you charge people then? How does that work? Do we have to give you a day rate? Do we what is it, per task, or is it flexible? How does that side of things work?
It sounds really strange, but all of the above. It depends on the client's needs. It depends on their budget. It depends on whether or not they have the ability to wanting to give up, which is essentially a lot of control within the business. So most virtual assistants will price based on three sort of ways. We bill either after the work, we bill in advance, or we can put people on a retainer so that it reserves our time on a monthly basis on usually like a use it or lose it kind of policy. The majority of the VAs, particularly within the UK, will charge you for their time. So, and usually from a minimum. So I, for example, will bill somebody, and if it's over 5 minutes, that's when I start billing, is from that 5 minute point. Going back to the employee situation, if you've got somebody on payroll and they're there between 9 till 5, you're paying for them being there between 9 and 5. If I've only looked at your stuff for 15 minutes, you're paying for 15 minutes.
So it's a lot. It can be a lot more cost effective to run it in that manner, can't it?
Yes.
What I loved about it was during lockdown, you took over my lead management, didn't you? And you were ringing my customers, you were booking in quotes, and it just alleviated that level of hands-on that I had to do in it day to day. So do you find that a lot of your clients are looking for long-term relationship with what you do, or do you find that it's like as and when they need you?
It can be a little bit of both. So my very first client, we started on a different business to what he's running now. And it was, when he needed something, say, can you phone this customer and book them in? Can you deal with this? And it started off quite ad hoc, and then it grew into more sort of like business management, helping to run the business and dealing with the bits that he didn't want to deal with. I've had other clients that have come and gone depending on what it is that they've needed. I still get the odd person that's like, all I want is a pretty CV. And that's more project-based. So I've done the CV and then I've not heard from them again because literally what they needed from.
Yeah.
So I personally, I like people. I like the relationships that I get from like my new clients. And while I do enjoy my plumbing and heating, I do have clients in other industries, and it's fun, it's interesting, and you become interested in what it is that they do. So I've also got a client in the entertainment industry, and before Corona and lockdown, we were dealing with theatres and big stadiums to book in bands, big bands like Spice Girls and The Killers, and that's a whole different ball game, but really fun. I'm not allowed to meet any of those people, I've been told, because I'm like, oh my gosh, you're John Barrowman, here, sign this.
Super fan,
yeah. It's a different ball game, but realistically, the processes are the same, the administration is the same, and what our clients need are going to be the same. You need someone to keep on top of things and to take the burden off so that we can focus on greater things.
Yeah. Do you know, one thing that I'd like to hear your take on, sorry, I'm just having a few mic problems. Just got to sort myself out. There you go, you might see the mic now. When a one-man band needs to take that step on getting some assistance, what sort of advice would you have with giving them the sort of the information that can alleviate the pains? Like what is it you'd say to me if I was ringing you up now saying I'm struggling with answering the phone all the time, I'm struggling with chasing payments? Do you know, what is it that you say to these people to encourage them to use a service like yours? Because I see, as I say all the time, I speak with so many different people across the country, and so many people just have accepted the struggle, if that makes sense, and accepted that they have to work till 8 o'clock at night to catch up. They have to run around like a headless chicken all day, when in reality they don't. So yeah, what would you say to these people?
So I usually sort of ask by, what is the most important? So a lot of people that I've spoken to within the industry, the biggest one is money. My customers aren't paying me, and being part of both the big groups that you run. It's a question that comes up quite a lot. So automatically I can see it's like, okay, you're struggling with your credit control. So have you got a process to put into place? And a lot of the issues that I see and I hear can be solved with a decent process. So I say to my clients, it's like, right, I'm going to have a think. I can potentially put a process in that is easy to follow, so that if, God forbid, I die tomorrow, you could pick up that piece of paper and follow that process and still get the job done. But a lot of the people that I speak to, they don't even know what they want. They don't know what they need to alleviate the stresses or the strains that they're facing. So I usually get them to write that down. What is the most important? And then you can start focusing on that, expanding to bring in other things.
Just the word process for a lot of people, that's alien. It's like, I'm a plumber. Do you know what process is? What do you mean? But if you look at any half decent sized company, it is full of systems and processes, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is the fundamental foundations of whatever business it might be in any industry.
Yeah.
So that point on there, you work with the people to find these processes that work for them and their customers, and obviously you guys that are helping them do it. Is that right?
Yeah, and I mean, like, even down to a one-man band offering boiler servicing, they know processes because they cannot service a boiler without following a certain process to make sure that everything gets checked properly, everything is done correctly, which then hopefully would lead to a customer not phoning going, my boiler's not working since you visited, because they followed the process that they've either been taught or they've grown up with. Processes are not one size fits all. What works for, say, you might not work for a different client. And our roles as virtual assistants is to also help adapt within that system to make sure that those the results are then obtained that they want. Yeah,
and that's key, because if someone was to take what I do and try and do exactly the same, it's not going to work as well. It needs to be adaptable and flexible, doesn't it, to fit the person or persons that are going to be actually utilizing that system or process. Quick question on software systems. Obviously, this is another massive conversation across the communities and the podcast. From your perspective as a VA, obviously everyone knows that my preferred system is ServiceMate and Lead Hero for lead management. With what is it that you would recommend people, or is there not a one? It depends on the need. Like, yeah, what's your take on it? From
it does depend on the need. So the two systems that I've used is Commusoft, and that was like the version 3 Commusoft, which became very clunky. And yeah, when they rolled out the version 4, I was like, I don't like it. I like my version 3.
I was the same. That's what I actually left. I actually left Commusoft when version 3 went. So.
Yeah, it's like the reporting function of version 3 was so awesome. If someone said, oh, can you please like find out how much money I'm owed by the business, like, yeah, bump, done. With not Commusoft, ServiceMate, I like ServiceMate because it's pretty. I like pretty. And I've also used something called, is it Gas Checker? Don't mind.
Yes, yeah. Funnily enough, I was Gas Checker. I was one of the early testers with the owner of that. There was a little group of us on Twitter about 8 years ago, and Dan, the owner of that company, I was one of the people that done the early beta testings on it. So, moving on from that, then you love spreadsheets.
Yes,
you know, I've sent you a couple of projects where I needed some spreadsheets sorting out and that. And I suppose this is what is fundamentally different between us tradespeople and you admin people, because you put a spreadsheet in front of most of us listening, we're like, what the hell is this crap? Do you know? Whereas I feel the excitement when I send you something that is like data based. You know, you're like, oh yes, excellent. You know, yes, I can play. And do you still feel there's like, for a small business that maybe doesn't want to invest straight into a software system, are there ways to do things on spreadsheets in a more traditional manner rather than like jumping into a big overhead on a software system?
Definitely, and it comes back down again to process. You could use like a piece of paper and a pen, and some people still do. They scare me, but they still do. Do it the old school fashioned way with their diary in the front of their van. But companies like Google, their G Suite functionality is amazing because you get storage, you get word processing, you get the spreadsheets, and obviously the email base, and it all feeds in with each other, and the diary as well. So I've got one of my clients who is based in Bristol. He doesn't have a system. It's all on Google Calendar, which we color code. We've got like a little code, and it's me and one of my associates that I work with. If I can't be bothered, which sometimes does happen, because, you know, single business person myself, like sometimes I need a business day off. If I'm like, could you have a look at this for me? She would look at it and know that ORGS means like an organizational gas safety, as opposed to like a customer gas safety. And she can tell the difference because we put that process in place. And realistically, the engineer for that company just points his van where Google tells him to go and goes off and does the work. So I get to control like a puppet master. So you can run a business on basic things like that. The key point being that you need a process that you know what it means, that anybody that puts their hand into the system also knows what it means. Otherwise, chaos ensues.
So it sounds like, and I would definitely agree with it, is that everything comes back to the systems and processes, doesn't it? You know, and if people can get the time to extract that and create that, it just alleviates so many future problems, doesn't it? And it means that you can actually sort of be organized and be structured. We were on a live stream last night and we touched on the structure and the freedom of self-employment. which can be a curse if you don't have that. And that was a really big shake-up in my business life, was when I realized that having the whole world, whole field, a whole area to play with isn't necessarily the best option. So I had to slowly create these boundaries and systems, processes, and working with people like yourself to help me along that way. Like, I remember when you started doing the calling my leads for me, we built the script, didn't we? If you know what I mean. We had an original idea, and then we worked together to hone in a little bit on what wording to use, what approach to use, and it's all these little things that you add that to the spreadsheet that you did for me on my direct debits, where I could have a chart of how much each month it's going up, and all of these little, they might seem little, but if you're not doing it, you don't know the information, you don't know the answer, and you don't know how can you like take on another employee if you don't even know what you do every day. And, you know, how are you meant to expect somebody else to come and join your company if you don't know how you're doing it? If you're just doing it, what's in your head, you need to take the time to get it out of your head and put it out.
It's interesting because obviously people go into self-employment, and I personally didn't take that decision lightly. I remember actually when I quit all my jobs and wanting to do my crochet blankets, I'm sat in the job seekers office, the job people, to get job support, and the first thing they said to me was, you don't qualify because my then partner earns too much money. So I'm like, why do I have to sit here every week to prove that I'm going to be applying for all these jobs? And I sat down and thought, actually, I did research into what it was that I could offer. It's like, I can do all of these different things. I pick up new systems really easily. So I learned ServiceMate on the fly because, my client was like, I'm using ServiceMate now, go play. And I was given the time to press button. I was like, what does this button do? I'm going to press it and see what it does. And so that's the first thing I said after, was it's like, right, no, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to find people who would then become tools in my own toolbox to get to where I want to be. And the first thing the job office person was like, please don't, because now you're no longer a statistic. Because I went self-employed and therefore I didn't have to do anything that these people said. And the freedom was amazing. However, it's very overwhelming. So, and I, as a business, I face those same issues. Like, I've got quite a bit of work coming through. In the last, since lockdown, I've actually grown, and which is great. And like, going back to your leads, like, obviously we started that just after lockdown started, and I'm like, actually, I can't be everything to everybody. Here's Elle, who is, a little bit older than me. Her children are grown. She's got a bit more privacy in her apartment to be making those phone calls and sounding, a little bit more professional to the customers that we're having to call. Because I'm right there, like during lockdown, I'm sat here being nice and good and talking to customers, and then a 9-year-old walks in going, Fortnite's not working, which works. So I'm with a lot of, I see the same queries come up, particularly in groups like Off the Tools, where it's like, how do I get my time back? It's like, there are people out there that can help with that, definitely.
Yeah, and although this podcast isn't meant to be a plug directly for Bex, but I can personally vouch for her work and what she's done for me when I've needed that help. So anyone out there that wants to maybe look at what Bex can do for your business, then Princess PA is the company name, isn't it?
Yes, Princess PA.
So we'll like I say, it's the whole point of this podcast is to help people, and I bring on people that I feel can add value to other people's businesses, and Princess PA is definitely one of those people that can do that. So what's your plans as a business? Are you content where you are? Are you looking to grow? On a personal note, what is it that you're trying to achieve as your next steps?
I'm definitely looking to grow, and I think circumstance has put me into that position where I'm forced to look at growing. I'm looking to take on more associates because, in all fairness, I have my limitations. Whilst I love a good spreadsheet, I don't like social media at all, can't stand it. I personally am I brought broccoli, laugh out loud kind of girl, and that doesn't work for businesses. They don't care that you bought a broccoli. I'm looking to expand that sort of toolbox, either by building a network of great people behind me that are not affiliated with my business, that I can go, I can't do this, but this person can, and share the love and the work around. That is going to involve a lot of planning. And ironically, I need a virtual assistant to help me out. So
the virtual assistant needs a virtual assistant. There
needs
we go.
A virtual assistant.
What better endorsement that VAs work, eh? And you might like, this is a bit contentious, I suppose, because of the nature of your business, but even a service like yours can be a stepping stone for somebody, can't it? Like the cool lead management for me was that you filled a void when I needed it, and it allowed me to then have the time to, because I've now got a full time. She's not my PA. She's I guess I don't know what to say. What her title is really, customer relationships, I think is probably the term. But that you working with me was that stepping stone to going from me doing it to somebody else doing it, and it allowed that transition. And I still will, like, we still have stuff that I'm going to be sending Princess PA, things that more on a project basis for my business now. It'll be like, right, here's a load of what I call data or crap. Can you fix it for me? Can you sort it out, because we ain't got the time. But yeah, I just wanted to get that point across, because although obviously from your perspective you'd love to have long-term clients that work with you forever and ever and ever, from a more selfish point of view of being a business owner, it's a very cheap and easy way to put the feelers out to see if you're ready, see if the systems that you have or that you develop are working, without that sort of full-time commitment of a PAYE member of staff where you've got holiday pay, sick pay, all the protocols and legalities that come with that. So even if you're, even if it's a short-term commitment, it can help you understand the power of, I call it leverage. So I leveraged your services to help me. And I think other people, if they took the time out and a bit of money to try that little bit of leverage, they'll soon see the benefits. And obviously I know a couple of your clients, and they've been with you forever, and they're not going to go anywhere. Is it like, but so I just wanted to sort of add that to the mix a little bit, just to give people reassurance that it's not a full-time massive commitment to start using a VA. Obviously, if things go well, happy days, great, you keep rolling with it. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. And it's a lot cheaper to get rid of a VA than it is to get rid of a full-time employee, unfortunately.
It is. So. And the beauty of it is that, using your leads as an example, when we started with one particular way of recording those leads and calling those leads. And then partway through that, you're like, actually, we don't like this anymore. We like this one. And then helped develop the second part, where by that point, Ella had come in to do the calls, and we were both sat again, we don't like this button, we want that button. This is a lot of an easier process. But when you get to a point with any projects where if you're starting to get the volumes, the cost then is balanced. Like the cost involved of employing somebody with the holiday pay, the PAYE, national insurance contributions, and a desk and a phone. When you're generating those volumes, a VA might not actually be the best point of call, because they have got other commitments. You're not their only, I say you, obviously it's like the generic worldwide you. You're not the only client that they have. So the demand on the time, and that's one of the drawbacks of that virtual assistant. One of the issues that we face a lot is that sometimes clients can turn around and say, well, we don't want you working with anybody else. It's like, well, hang on a second, my niche is mental health services. So if I'm now stuck with one particular mental health service and I can't go anywhere else, by the time that mental health service turns around and goes, right, we're done with you now, I'm stuck because of non-disclosure. So that's one of the downsides of having a virtual assistant is, you're not 100% there.
Sole attention,
and that's, for me, that's an indicator that if I've got to the stage where I can't focus on, say, 2 or 3 people a day, which is about my limit, and then afterwards I like everybody, I'm like, okay, I'm peopled out now. It's like well, that's when I realized actually I either need help or I need to start referring my potential clients to people that I know and that I trust that could do a similar job, and sometimes better. Not gonna lie. Sometimes people do a better job than I do, and that then helps their business, your business, my business, and it's about families and networking. So, and that principle is universal, isn't it? With every business, really. So, with everything that's gone on, then you've already mentioned that it sort of helped your business. So you've actually sort of gone from strength to strength. Do you see this continuing? Do you see this trend of growth continuing? Because I suppose there's sadly there's going to be a lot of redundancies across the country. I don't think we're even anywhere near seeing the true effects yet, because furloughs only just coming to an end, so companies are only just sort of getting back in the water as such. So personally, I can see a service like yours just massively being in demand, because for a company that maybe had 5 office staff, they might be down to 2 now, when they get back out in the real world. So they're going to be looking to leverage people like you. So are you excited by that, or are you a little bit like, oh shit, there's going to be a big tidal wave coming? There's the tidal wave is already here, in all fairness, because right from the beginning of lockdown, our biggest, some of our industry's biggest clients were companies going, I've just had to send all of my staff home. How do they work from home? It's like, we've been doing this for years. So we've been able to sort of like advise and help put like realistic expectations. I've heard of horror stories of people who are employed and they've now working from home. And I was speaking to one guy and he said to me that his company had basically said, if they get a complaint from a customer because of noise in the background, then you're going to go on to disciplinary. And this particular person has a child that's got autism, who was obviously not at school. And I've already mentioned the trials and tribulation of anybody who's got a 9-year-old that knows what my pain when it comes to Fortnite's not working. We've all been in that boat, and it's like you need to set realistic expectations, and you've also got to manage your customers' expectations. Say it's like, hi, I'm working from home. There's crazy people in my house. I'm really sorry, but that has no bearing on how well I'm going to perform at my job. So I'd definitely agree with that, and it does come down to a bit of pre-framing to the customer, because we advertise as a family business. So as a family business, if there's a kid on the back of the phone call, it's not unexpected. I'm not presenting myself as this corporate, executive level sort of style business. So people have to, I think the customers that you attract need to be pre-framed on that scenario, don't they? Definitely. And I'm quite lucky, like all of my clients know that I have a child in the background, and most of my clients have children themselves, and even the ones that don't have children, they know what it's like, because they've got dogs that randomly bark in the background. So a lot of the referrals that our industry received, particularly at the beginning of lockdown, were people going, how do I work from home? And we were able to help advise and help find like the setups. And my desk, for example, you're here and I've got a screen over there that's like that I can use for notes, or sometimes when I'm working and it's quiet, I could put a film on it. But sometimes I've got one spreadsheet here, another one split, and another one. And if you had that in an office and now you don't have it at home, it will change your productivity. So it's like sometimes our question will be, how do I work better? And my answer is, get another screen.
Yeah, as simple adaptation, but it makes a difference. Touching on that point of like family interrupting and stuff, I remember at the beginning of lockdown, there was a Lord or an MP, and he was on a Zoom interview live on Sky, and like the little kid come running in, and then the nanny come running in, and it was all like, everyone, at the time, it was like, well, this is on national news at like 10 o'clock at night, prime time, because we weren't framed for this level of like personal, were we? Whereas now, if that was to happen now, you know, you wouldn't even blink an eyelid, because the world has sort of moved on, and it's sort of like half expected that we're not all this prim and proper, you know, like shoulders back and precise as everyone maybe thought people were before lockdown, because true colours and realities sort of have been more exposed now, haven't they?
And like for people like myself, like I run my business and I'm a single parent. I've got support now because my partner's here from the States, so I've got that support. And actually, to go from single parent doing everything to myself to now having that support, I'm like, oh, I don't have to do everything by myself, and it's a completely different mind shift.
But that same principle is in business as well.
Is in business,
So take away the single mum aspect and say a single business owner. You know, that now you've got a partner, you can now get that support, and it's the same in a business, isn't it? That your business is your baby, and you're so focused on that baby that you don't think anybody else can chip in and help, when in reality, if you find the right people and support system around it, you can.
It's like that saying, isn't it? It's like you can be a jack of all trades but a master of none. And I think that we as human beings need to sit down really and think, what is it that I'm amazing at? It's like, I'm amazing at a spreadsheet, but at the same time, I don't know how to get ranch dressing out of the bottle. That's definitely one of my limitations. So I know that within like my business, that's going to be the same thing. I'm awesome at the processes behind it, but I don't know how to recruit people. And I know that from our Zoom yesterday, there was that gentleman who was saying, it's like, how do I employ somebody, or how do I get somebody that I know is going to do the job? And I don't know how to do that either, but I know somebody who does, and they are in recruitment, and therefore they'd be able to get that checklist. And so it's about using tools.
Tools is the exact word, and it's an analogy. It's not, you're not calling someone a tool, but basically, in essence, if from a tradesman perspective, you have a van full of tools to get you through your day. If you need a saw, you get the saw out. If you need the silicone gun, you get the silicone gun out. If you need the screws, you get the screw box out. And running a business is exactly the same. Like, if you need something, you don't have to do it yourself. You can get that tool that can do it for you. And that's such an important message, because I just get fed up of seeing so many people like just run themselves into the ground. And with everything that's going on in the world right now, with the rise on mental health, the struggle for sanity in essence, it's just one less thing. If you can alleviate just a few small things, it can just ease that pressure. And it could be the difference between popping on and staying secure and stable. So, because I believe you do work with like people from a perspective of what's it called? When people have got a problem, they come to get advice, citizens' advice and stuff. Don't you do some work with regards to that? I do.
So that is actually an interesting story. Is that I have attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, and I have Asperger's, and I was late diagnosed. I wasn't diagnosed until I was at university, when my lecturers were like, "Okay, you're here for 3 hours and you won't sit still." And like, as you probably noticed, I'm like, time to term. It's like I'm trying to focus, and it's actually nothing to do with you. It's like I need to sit, and then it's like do something. And I really, really struggled, and it came more about when I had my son. I had postpartum depression that exacerbated everything. So I was very lucky that my doctor was sympathetic, B, knew of services around Bristol that could help me, which included putting me in contact with other mothers that were going through a similar sort of thing. And from there, I had a lot of help given to me. So I decided to help back. So I do mental health championing. So I can be one of those crazy people that will knock on your door and go, "Hi, how are you feeling? Want a cup of tea? Get some fresh air. Tell me your woes." They won't go anywhere. And I also help with things like debt counselling, teaching people what their priority debts are, which I have to admit, unfortunately, goes against my other aspect, which is my credit control personality, where I'm like, pay me, pay me, pay me. On the other note, did you know that I'm not actually a priority debt? So the two don't quite go together. But at the same time, is people don't know their rights, and that has a huge impact on their mental health, especially if they're not getting the help that they need to just be able to function on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. Like, I'm sure that many people are listening have woken up in the morning and gone, "I don't want to get up today." That's human, that's natural. Everybody goes through those phases. And if it's going on regularly, particularly from a business perspective, your business isn't performing because you're not performing, you're not at the top of your game. And any sort of help, whether it be groups like the ones that you run, where you can have that Me Too mentality, where it's like, if I'm going through this, someone else is going to go through exactly the same thing that I am. Maybe we can help each other, and that can help alleviate the mental health, and volunteering help put things into perspective with that.
And I'm in no way devaluing a woman's aspect to it, but men particularly, I can only speak as a man because I'm a man. I can't speak as a woman because I've never been a woman yet. In the modern world, you never know. Sorry, I'm trying to say something serious here, but my point is that from a man's perspective, that side of accepting that there may be some low points and knowing how to deal with it it's a very hard place to be, because men don't talk generally. You know, we have the bravado, we have this masculinity that wants to stop us being able to open up. And I'm a firm believer in that mental issues are a state. So as in if you Google what a state means, it's something that is created in essence. It's so if you are in a bad state, you can change that to a good state. It's not easy, of course it's not. You know, I've never been diagnosed with depression, but I have some crazy ups and downs. You know, it's one, I can be super high, take on the world. You know, you put me in front of anyone, I could speak to them, I could, you know, do whatever. And then I have moments where, you know, I don't even want to get up. I don't know how to move forward. I don't know what's going on. And over the years, I've sort of learned to. I don't think you ever fully. I think if you have that tendency, I think there's always something in there that it leaves you vulnerable to it. So I don't think I'll ever say 100% I don't need to work on it. But I've learned and grown and used sort of mindset tools to sort of really adjust my thought process. So when I do notice these things, that I can make the necessary adjustments. So it could be simple as, like, you've probably seen me chugging this big bottle of water, do you know? I have one. The hydration, it's such a simple, do you know, you wouldn't wake up in the morning and not breathe. Well, do you know, you fucking hope you wouldn't anyway. So why would you wake up and not drink shitloads of water? I know that if I drink all the water regularly, you know, it's a gallon. This is, so it's quite overkill. And like everything I do, I go fucking head deep and just go straight in. But it's a simple thing that I know that throughout the day, if I drink this over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I be consistent with it, I know it will give me more energy. It will fire my brain up. I have ideas. I implement, which is more important than ideas. You know, I actually take action. And I can't solely say it will be the bottle of water that does that, but it helps. You know, it helps get me in a state. And I come back to the word state, where their negative thoughts are less present. So the more positive, can do, make shit happen, no excuses, Wayne, is there to sort of drive forward with.
You're looking after your liver as well. So that's one of the like a lot of nutritionists will say that before you do anything else in the morning is drink some water, because that will kickstart your liver, it kickstarts your digestive system, it gets your like feet running on the ground. You can do it with lemon, but don't brush your teeth either before or after that. Wait for about half an hour before brushing teeth. But yeah, I mean, like, this is my second one of the day. Yeah. My son's got one that he has, and he's like proudly will say, I drank this water. It's really, really important. And, you know, if you build into those sorts of things into your routine, it can make you more productive. It can make your brain a bit more open to other possibilities. And it comes back to knowing our limitations. It's like you're the sum of what you do each day at the end of the day, aren't you? Daily habits, things that you do consistently are who you become. If I eat a Mars bar every day, I'm going to be a fat geezer. If I go to the gym every day and not sit in the jacuzzi and actually go to the gym, then I will, not that I sit in the jacuzzi because it's closed because of COVID, but, but yeah, everything stems to consistency, doesn't it? And it's just, I think more people need to hear that. I think more people need to see it in action, which is one of the reasons I do what I do. I want to be an example of what you can do. Do you know, I'm not anything special. I'm not a multi-millionaire. I'm not uber successful, but generally speaking, I've got a successful business. I have a fair bit of time on my hands because of the way I've built my business. And I think if people can aspire to somebody, like I have mentors and coaches that I look up to and think that's where I want to go. And if I can be that to somebody that's at the moment lower down than me on the pecking order, amazing, because hopefully one day they're going to exceed what I can do, and they could become the person I look up to. It's just, you've got to, at the end of the day, it comes down to you. You're the only person that can change your reality, what's happening. You can make the excuse after excuse for why things aren't working, but at the end of the day, you have to take charge. Would you it's
agree?
Interesting that you say, and I do, and it's interesting these like touching back on, you know, like the male role within the mental health. There's so much stuff out there for women. So I help run, before COVID, I was helping to run every Thursday morning a women's only health group at our local health park, and I'm like, where's the man version of this? Like, I'm fine. I'm a woman, which means that if I start crying, somebody, including strangers in Tesco, are going to go, oh my gosh, are you okay? You see a man crying. And
you imagine it. You imagine me standing in Tesco's crying. I think that most people would run off, wouldn't they? And think, what the frick is this geezer doing? Who is he? Who's this guy?
Take my wallet. I mean, I think because of the way that my brain works anyway, is like I see anything crying, I'm like, oh no, come and have a cuddle. Cuddles solve everything. And I'm really lucky in the fact that I have got that one best friend who's also my business partner, that if I had a wobble, you might have seen some of my rant videos on Facebook at the beginning of lockdown, where it's like, please stop walking in the road whilst I'm driving, just stop. And I went and did some shopping for her because she didn't have a car, and I handed it to her from her safe 2-meter distance. And whilst I'm giving her a massive bag of oat milk, I burst into tears, and she just looked both ways, grabbed my top, pulled me in and said, right, come on, let's sort this stuff out, because we can't do this on our own. We need, and again, goes back to the tools. And that was the biggest thing my mum ever taught me, is like, here's your toolbox, you fill it with tools that you need, not useless ones like pegs designed to clip the top of like bags or something, but you fill that with people that are going to give you happiness points. I subscribe to something called spoon theory, which means that you start off the day with a set number of spoons, and you'll have situations, people and things that will take or want to take spoons from you, but they're my spoons. I'm not giving them to you unless I deem it necessary. So if I'm going to start with 10 spoons, and realistically, this podcast, this conversation is probably going to take about 5, because it's the focus that I need to do. Afterwards.
I've got a coach at the moment, right? Paul Moore, his name is, and he doesn't quite eloquently put the spoons. He calls them fucks. I've only got a certain amount of fucks I can give in a day,
Yes.
and I'm not going to waste them. That if it get like, and the principle is the same. That I love that. I love that.
And I say that to my son. So I'm obviously single mother of a boy as well. So like my son, who he's like, I'm crying and I don't know why I'm crying. And it's like, it's okay to cry. There are things that we shouldn't cry about, like stupid people that are doing their heads in. You just poke your tongue out and say to them, knob off. But if you stub your toe, that shit hurts. You can cry about that. So I'm not one to say to my son, why are you crying? You shouldn't cry, because otherwise, why do we have tear ducts? Why do all human beings have them?
Yeah.
And I've had to, because, before I moved here, we were homeless. So we were having to, it was a really difficult time for him. And I was like, right, you need spoons. He's like, what's the spoons? And I was quite blunt and said, yeah, these are fucks, but you're 9, so you can't say that to a teacher. And if your teacher's being horrible to you, just say, you don't get any of my spoons today, and just, they're your spoons. I don't have a right, even as your mother, to take your spoons off you. So he uses that quite a lot. And I'm really proud of him for being the sort of like the young man that he's now turning into. You ask him what I do for a living, he says that I do plumbers, which is not true. Don't offer that service. Apparently that's what I do. But I like mental health, particularly in males, starts at that age when they're babies.
100%. And the poor kids that have been going through this last 6-8 months, whatever it is, we're in for a shitstorm over this next generation of people, because it was bad enough the amount of screen time and bullshit that they were exposed to, on a daily basis. But they've now had like a 6-month period, which as a young person, that's a huge chunk of time where they maybe didn't have the mum or dad or both as present as they should be, because they had work and life to deal with while being at home. And just the scariness, like my daughter come home yesterday, and someone in, not even in a year, in the school had gone home with COVID. And you could see she looked petrified, absolutely petrified. And these are going to leave lasting scars. Definitely, I just, well, if the solution obviously isn't there yet, because we're not even, I don't even think we're seeing the real effects yet, because we've got like the poor kids or young adults that didn't get their GCSE results and stuff. Where's that gone out of the news? Why aren't we hearing about these poor people that aren't in the universities that they wanted to be? What are they doing? What colleges have they gone to? Like, are these people just going to be a future generation of a load of bums, or is there support out there for them? And there's just so much uncertainty, isn't there? And humans, that is like the biggest thing that humans can't deal with. But there's a few things that we like. We like to be in a tribe. We like that group mentality. We like to know what's happening. We don't like things to be different each day. This is a generalization. And we're experiencing withdrawal from both of these key aspects of like a human as an animal. So it's
and it's really shocking, because I'm from outwards, I am very bubbly, I'm very vibrant, I'm very extroverted, but in reality, I'm total opposite. I'm an INTJ, which on the Myers-Briggs is I'm actually like less than 3% of the population, and it's rarer in females. So after talking to one person, I'm tired for the rest of the day, because I have to put on this persona that fits more within a societal norm. And in terms of socialness, which is one of the reasons why I like doing what I do, because I don't have to fit in every single, it's tiring. And I surround myself with people like yourself, people like the clients that I've got that know that it's like, if I'm bright and bubbly today, it's probably because I've had caffeine 5 minutes before talking to you, and they accept me for who I am. And I've never been happier, because I haven't had to explain who I am. If I have to explain why my brain works that way, or why I'm seeing it that way, then that's not a client for me. That's not a friend for me.
Do you think that that's part of the reason you do what you do now? Because going to sit in a corporate office, maybe somewhere where you've got the status quo of what people should act and be like, do you reckon that played a part in steering you down to what you're doing?
It's like before, yeah, definitely, because before then I had jobs where I'd be, I thought I was bored, which is a standard thing for ADHD, but I literally thought I was bored. But actually the tasks that I were doing are exactly the same tasks that I'm doing now. It was the environment that I was in where I worked with people in like a team, and I've never been the popular one. That's fine. That doesn't bother me in the slightest. But I used to get called anal. I used to sit there next to someone who goes, "Why are you always so anal?" And I'm thinking, why you can't say that to me. It's not nice. It's rude. It's disparaging. I used to get it a lot, and it actually wasn't until I met my partner, who he says, "You apologise a lot." I was like, "What for?" It's like, "Yeah, you apologise. Like if you think you're talking too much, you say, 'I'm really sorry, I'll be quiet now.'" And then I just stopped, or like stop talking halfway through a sentence. And he said, "You need to be unapologetically you."
Mm-hmm.
And
that's very true. No one is gonna be you for you. You've just got to be yourself, haven't you?
Yeah. And actually, if people don't like that, that's on them. That's not on me. So
that's their problem, not yours.
Yeah. So the people that I've met, I've met yourself, and don't get me wrong, when we first met, I was thinking, oh my gosh, all those thoughts went through my head. Is like, are you going to like me? But once we started talking, you accepted me for who I was. I accepted you for who you were. And as soon as you get that over the way, you can then carry on with forging a relationship that then works.
There's just so much fake out there. Yes. I just can't, which is why I swear, which is why I do what I do in the way that I do it, because it's me. I'm not going to I'm not going to waste my time and effort pretending to be somebody else to try and like you said, it fit in. And I spot that in people. Like I see people that maybe I'm not going to waste time on because they're just not, I might be judging it wrong, but 9 times out of 10, I trust my gut. And then it works on the other way. There's people that I speak with and communicate with that I think they might not be able to help me. They might not be able to do, but they're real. They're being them for them, and that is what is more important, I believe, is being the person you are.
It's like with the swearing thing, I find it odd. It's like obviously working in places like call centers, it's like if a customer swears, hang up on them. It's like, but hang on a second, why are they swearing? So I remember I worked for quite a big insurance company. I'm on the phone and the guy comes through to me and he's literally effing and blinding. And he's like, are you just going to hang up on me too? I'm like, cool, go back. What is your problem? He's like, what does this thing mean in my bloody stuff? And I'm reading it going, cool. Are you in your 7? Are you likely to go drag racing? And he's like, no. I said, yeah. If you go drag racing, your car insurance policy will not cover you for drag racing. He had been passed and passed and passed. And I said, are you going to swear at me? Are you going to call me an effing B word or a see you next Tuesday or any of this sort of stuff? He's like, no, I'm just fucked right off. And I'm like, now I know you're angry. I struggle with people's tone. I when I'm listening to people, sometimes I look like I'm staring at them. It's because I'm trying to figure out that the words coming out of their mouth and what they're actually meaning are two separate different things. I'm very literal, I'm very logical, which means if you say that you are pissed off, I'll take you at your word. Yeah. Doesn't matter if you're smiling or dancing, it's like I will take you physically at your word, which humans don't normally behave that way. So I encourage it. It's like, if you're going to swear, just swear. Don't call me names. Or be, if it's me, just say I walk away and come back, because it's not true. But limiting your vocabulary limits the message, limits your point, and things get missed. So I'd rather you swear and say what you mean, as opposed to trying to find light, fluffy ways of going, I'm rather ticked off. It's like, I'm fucked off. Less words, job's a good one.
Exactly. Everyone knows where they are. Right, we're running out of time. I just want to basically end the show on saying where people can get hold of you. So you're obviously in the Off the Tools group. Have you got a website that people can go and visit to learn a little bit more?
No.
I was just about to say, for those that are listening rather than watching, that facial reaction, she answered that question before she spoke, just so you know.
I have one, but it's not very pretty. So I have one.
So Bex Inglis, I shall be tagged in any promotion of this podcast anyway, so you should be able to find her, and I'm sure a lot of you guys and girls have already heard from her. Yeah, just a massive thank you. I think this show has been fantastic. We've touched on, I don't know how I'm going to write the description for this because we've gone like in about 20 different directions and stuff, but I feel it's been valuable. I've learned a lot. I hope you've enjoyed it, Bex, and
loved it.
Hopefully we'll get you on again in the future. So thanks again for being on the show. Much appreciated.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Lead Hero is the UK's #1 marketing automation platform for ambitious trades businesses looking to save time, make more money, and level up. Because just getting leads is not enough anymore. Lead Hero will help you triple your sales and maximize profits with our job flow acceleration system. Visit leadhero.ai to learn more.
I really hope you enjoyed the show. I just wanted to put it out there for anyone listening that I offer business coaching, but also life coaching. My life is centered around something called the 3 Bs, which stands for body, business, and balance. When you work with me as a coach, we tackle all 3 aspects of life. So you as an individual, body, mindset, health, fitness, knowledge, education. Business B obviously stands for your business, improving, maximizing opportunities, elevating, making more money. And balance stands for your friends, family, loved ones, making time for everything in your life. And the 3 Bs is the core element to that. If you'd like to learn more, I would ask you to reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you might be consuming my information. Or you can email me directly at wayne@offthetools.co.uk. I'm here waiting to assist you to elevate across all aspects of life. Have a good one. No excuses. Let's go.